Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nate, also known as Mewtwo Fan Nate, and I'm your coach of the New York Noibats for this season of the GBA. This is my first season participating in the GBA, so I'm really excited. And if you guys are as excited as I am, or a mildly appropriate amount of excited, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you want to let me know what you think of the draft, and I would really appreciate it. I try to respond to all the comments and have a good conversation with you guys down there, so would really appreciate it. Means a lot, and thank you for clicking on this video. So anyway, I joined the GBA because in the middle of the draft, someone just dropped out. They hadn't picked anything yet, but I think it was my turn to pick, and I didn't have anything of the doc. I didn't have any of the rules, so I didn't know anything going into this draft. The only thing that I was told was that Mewtwo was available, and like from there on out, I was like, okay, I'm picking Mewtwo. So I did grab Mewtwo, and before I actually go into like what Mewtwo can do, I just want to say that my goal for the GBA is to bring back the roots, the core vision of the GBA had when it was created. So I know that there have been like reasons why people may not like the GBA anymore. They don't like the way it was run, whatever, that like the different controversies, blah 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 blah. The reason why I am joining the GBA is because I want to bring back that root energy, the vision that Magnitude, aka Steve, had when he created it, and that was just to have fun and make content and collaborate with other people through battling and in a fun way. So I feel like and this is, there's nothing really wrong with this, but I feel like even, and this is partly even myself to blame, like I kind of turned the GBA inside, like in my head, to be like this super competitive, like taking it way too seriously type of league, where it was never intended to be that way. It was like the intention of the GBA was to have fun and make content and just grow as creators with your friends, and that's the energy that I want to bring to the GBA, and I hope that you guys enjoy that type of thing. We're gonna have fun this season. Hopefully we get some wins. I think it's very possible with the team that I've drafted. I think we have a lot of potential. I haven't been known to choke games away, so don't hate me too much if I do. Just let me know in the comments of where I went wrong, and we will learn hopefully as the weeks go on. So with that being said, my first pick is Mewtwo. The way that this was like constructed is that this is a Ubers type of draft league where we have Ubers available to pick from, and you get a tier 1, a tier 2, 2 tier 3s, a tier 4, and a tier 5, and then you have an X amount of points to choose the rest of your Pokemon from. So my first pick, my tier 1, is Mewtwo, and Mewtwo is just so freaking good, man. I am so excited to be able to use the Mii mascot. Like this Pokemon has been a huge part of my life for like the longest period of time. I've had like the username Mewtwo Fan Nate since I was like maybe 10 years old. So and this is the first time I've gotten to draft it, so it's really cool. The Mewtwo from like the first movie, the Mewtwo Strikes Back movie, had a quote, like a really cool quote, and that was my senior quote for my yearbook when I graduated high school. So really cool. I get to kind of reconnect with this Pokemon in a draft league format type of way that I've never gotten to use before. I've never even like battled through like a Pokemon league or anything like that with Mewtwo. Like it's kind of crazy. Like Mewtwo's my favorite Pokemon, but I've never really used it. So I actually get to finally use it, and it's just super cool to do it. And I feel like I just rambled way too much. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But anyway, I'm not making this again. I'm not re-recording this. I've done that so many times. I'm done. So we have Mewtwo, super nice natural bulk, base 106 HP, base 90 in both of the defenses, and that just lets it be naturally bulky. Its speed lets it outspeed so many different things, and its special attack lets it hit like a freaking truck. And its base 110 physical attack lets it kind of run a weird mixed attacker if it needs to. And I think that is super, super cool. That it has the capability of going physical or special, even though special is probably the best way to go. I think physical Mewtwo could definitely put in the work 1 week, depending on the team matchup. I like the fact that Mewtwo just has like just the coolest coverage moves, like and its own signature psychic move, base 100 psychic move that hits on the physical side called Side Strike. Two really cool abilities: Pressure, which pretty much lets you get rid of 2 of your Pokemon's PP for every move that they use. So it says the Pokemon, if this Pokemon is the target of an opposing move, that move loses 1 additional PP. So really, really cool. And then you have the ability Unnerve, which just says your opponent cannot eat their berries. They have a citrus berry, they're not eating it. If they have a type reducing berry, if you slap something with an ice beam and they have a Yachi berry, they will not eat their Yachi berry to reduce that ice beam's super effective damage. So really, really good ability. I think this Pokemon can just run Life Orb every week and just put in the work, but I do want to try to mix it up and run things like Calm Mind, Substitute, and Swords Dance, and just like the craziest things to make this thing as fun as possible to get the most use and uniqueness out of this Pokemon. So hopefully we get to try everything, and I really hope that it works. So I don't know that much about Ubers, I'm gonna be honest, but I do know just things from Draft League in general, because I have been in quite a few Draft Leagues. Not that I'm like the best or most experienced Draft League player, but I do know that in every Draft League I want to have a Fairy Dragon Steel core and a Firewater Grass core. So my next pick is my tier 2 Pokemon. I tried getting my tier 1s and my tier 2s, like the best Pokemon that I can find as early as possible. And so my Pokemon that I decided to go for is my tier 2, and it's my Dragon and my Fairy Dragon Steel core, and this is Naganadel, or Naganadel, however you want to pronounce it. Its stats are kind of as far as like everything goes, except when you get to their speed and its special attack. So speed and special attack are just absolutely incredible. This thing has a really cool ability, Poison and Dragon, I think only being shared with like Dragalge, but this is like just a much more offensive version of it. And it has the ability to boost it with Nasty Plot, so it can boost it by 2 stages, and it also has like incredible coverage, being able to slap the steel types that would normally want to switch on this thing with like a Fire Blast or a Flamethrower. So really, really cool. It has Thunderbolt for the bulky waters, and then it can also go with U-Turn if it needs just a 4th move and you don't know what to slap on it. Just get momentum on things that want to switch in on you. So I really like this Pokemon as far as its just ability to potentially be a setup sweeper without having to actually even run like a setup move like Nasty Plot. Because of Beast Boost, you can pretty much get a boost in your special attack and knock something out that's just really weak, get the boost, and then just kind of go to town from there. This thing is just a really cool Pokemon as far as design wise, and I've never used it before. It got banned pretty quickly before I could even try it out, so I think this is just cool Pokemon. My Dragon and my Fairy Dragon Steel core, really cool for the poison, being able to hit the fairy types that would want to switch on the dragon moves. And yeah, so the next Pokemon that I drafted, I really wanted to get something that paired really well with Naganadel, and I also wanted to make sure that I got a Stealth Rocker to you know, set up hazards, and I wanted to get something that was pretty good. So I decided I was gonna go with Skarmory, and Skarmory is my Steel type in my Fairy Dragon Steel core, and Skarmory pairs really, really well with Naganadel. Naganadel being weak to Psychic and Ground, so Skarmory pairing pretty well, resisting those typings. It's also really, really fat, gets Stealth Rocks, gets Spikes, so we have plenty of hazards. This thing also can defog other opponents' hazards away. This thing can whirlwind things out to kind of stop things from wanting to set up on it, because it's really not the most offensive Pokemon. Base 80 attack is really, it kind of lets things set up on it because we can't really knock them out. So having access to Whirlwind is really nice for that type of thing. We could potentially abuse its other abilities like weak armor to potentially run it with a Swords Dance set, but I don't think that's too ideal. Maybe we'll bring it 1 week just for fun, because like I said before with Mewtwo, I kind of want to try to use these Pokemon to their full extent to see their full abilities. I want to try to use those unique things that make these Pokemon fun to use. So hopefully we get to use that this season. I think it'd be kind of cool. I really just like that this thing is fat, and it can really force a lot of prep as far as like, oh, I need a stab fire move or stab electric move to take this thing down. So that's really cool. Reliable recovery with Roost is always nice. The ability just to get guaranteed rocks up with Sturdy is just huge. I think people are going to try to definitely play around with that, and with, you know, like maybe like Fake Out plus a Z move, like, you know, that type of thing. So I guess we'll just move on, because now we have our Dragon type, we have our Steel type. Let's so the next thing in my head was like, okay, well, I have these two, I need to finish up my core, so I'm gonna get my Fairy type, and I decided to go with Sylveon. And I really like Sylveon. It has really good defenses, like all around, like base 95 HP, base 65 defense is pretty not good, but like with base 95 HP, you can kind of make it bulky in a sense to where, like, kind of similar to how Vaporeon is really not that physically bulky, but you can run it like with max HP, max defense, and it kind of still works out. You can kind of do the same thing with Sylveon, but Sylveon also has just the ability Pixelate, which turns its normal type moves into fairy type moves, and then gives them like a stab boost, like so really nice there, being able to run things like Hyper Voice, Hyper Beam, just to make those things hit really hard. So you can run this thing specs, leftovers, you can pass wishes to your team if they get injured, and you can just be like a wall as well. So this thing is really cool. I like Baton Pass on this thing, even though you can't Baton Pass other stats, I believe. You can still Baton Pass with momentum. So if something wants to switch in and I just want to get momentum, I can click Baton Pass. So I don't know. I think this thing is cool. I like its design. It's pretty cute. We're going to move on to my next Pokemon, because now that in my mind, I've completed my Fairy Dragon Steel core, right? So the next thing in my head is like, okay, Firewater Grass core. So I'm looking, and I think the one thing that really stands out in my head, just based off of its stats, is Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados having the ability Mold Breaker is huge. It says that the Pokemon's moves and their effects ignore the abilities of other Pokemon. So if I want to click Ice Fang, then that Thick Fat Mega Venusaur is still going to take super effective damage, and Thick Fat is not going to matter. If something has Levitate and I click Earthquake, that Pokemon's ability does not matter. You still get hit with the Earthquake. So I really like that, and that part of Mega Gyarados. This thing is also just incredibly bulky. Base 95 HP, base 109 defense, and base 130 special defense. That booty is thick booty on the defense. So if you couple that with the Intimidate that it gets before Mega Evolving, this thing is just super bulky. It lets it set up incredibly easy, and then because of its base 155 attack and its pretty strong stab moves with like Crunch and Waterfall, it just hits super hard. And with Dragon Dance just boosting that, letting it outspeed so many different things, it's incredible. But this thing doesn't have to just run Dragon Dance every single week. This thing can run defensive with like T-Wave or Taunt and Sub. So this thing has a few different things that it could do, and I'm just excited to try this thing out. I've never used any of these Pokemon that I have drafted so far, and I think that actually the entirety of my draft, there's only three Pokemon on my team that I've actually used before. So everything else on my team is I've never used in Draft League format. I've only seen it being used like in other people's teams or on like the ladder. So I'm kind of excited to try all these Pokemon out because it's just a new experience for me, and I think this will be fun. So the next Pokemon I got was just like, so in my head. All right, I'll let you guys know what the little voices inside my head were telling me when I was about to draft this next Pokemon. So in my head, I really wanted something that is gonna help Mewtwo shine. And I was like, okay, well, Mewtwo does not appreciate steel types, doesn't appreciate dark types, so I'm like, I really need to get a strong, threatening fighting type in order, fighting type? I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Fighting type. To scare away those steel types and those dark types from being a thing. I need something to beat them. So that way Mewtwo can come in and just click Psychic and just things will drop. That's what I need. And so I decided I was going to grab Turokhan because Turokhan is just super good. I feel like Turokhan with base 129 attack and then just access to like Stone Edge in close combat with a base 108 speed, it's just so hard to switch into. And this, if you guys look, this thing actually has some like really good bulk, like base 91 HP, base 90 in both of its defenses. It's actually got some pretty nice natural bulk going for it. With access to Swords Dance, this thing just hits incredibly hard. This is actually one of my Z users, so if I want, I could run Z Sandstorm, give me that speed boost. I guess I don't think I would ever run that, but I guess technically it's kind of cool in a sense because it's like I would then get a special defense boost from the sand, so maybe it's not as bad as it sounds. I don't know, it was literally just the first thing that popped in my head to increase its speed. But I think this thing is cool. It really just has all the coverage that, I mean, it doesn't have all the coverage that it needs. Like it gets X's, or I guess, for psychic types, but really just the combination of going for Swords Dance plus like a Rock EMZ or a Fight EMZ, just let this thing just be super threatening against every team, coupled with its speed being base 108. So really fast, really hard hitting. I like this thing a lot. I think it pairs really well with Mewtwo being able to switch in on dark type moves because of the fact that this thing can get the justified boost if this Pokemon is damaged by a dark type move. Its attack is raised by 1 stage. So I like that a lot. So I guess we're gonna move on to the next Pokemon, and that is Arcanine. So now in my head, I'm like, okay, that's another Pokemon checked off. So this is my fire type in my Firewater Grass core. And I like that it has some really nice abilities. Mostly Flash Fire and Intimidate. I don't think I'd ever run Justified on this thing, but Flash Fire and Intimidate are huge. We actually have double Intimidate going on with Gyarados before it Mega Evolves and Arcanine. And if you couple that with its pretty thick defenses like base 90 and base 80, after the Intimidate, it makes it pretty bulky, and then it has reliable recovery with like Morning Sun. And the thing, it doesn't have like the most coverage, but it has the bulk, as a reliable recovery. It has moves like Close Combat, Flare Blitz, Burn Up, Wild Charge to do things that it needs to do, Will-O-Wisp to kind of cripple physical attackers as well, and a really nice base speed stat, base 95, to let it outspeed a lot of the other things. So this thing can kind of function as a wall while having a base 95 speed, which makes it just incredibly nice. And this thing can be offensive, this thing can be defensive. If my opponent prepares for a defensive Arcanine and I run Choice Banded Arcanine with Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, and then maybe something else, like, you know, like Wild Charge for water types. So this thing could just absolutely decimate some teams if they're not prepared for the right Arcanine set. And I think just having that in itself is really cool. So now, at this point in the draft, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of panicking because I don't have a ground type, and there isn't a ground type that I was liking, because I felt like it kind of made the rest of my team pretty weak. But after looking at some of the options that I had, I ended up going with Seismitoad. And I think Seismitoad actually pairs pretty well with the team. I feel like I have enough on my team that kind of says it's okay to have a grass weakness, a Pokemon that's 4 times weak to grass. Because we have Arcanine, we have the Skarmory, we have the Decadua, and then we still haven't gotten our grass type in our Firewater Grass core, so we'll have a grass type and that'll resist, and then maybe the last couple picks will also maybe give us a better resistance, so our opponent might not just want to click Hidden Power Grass against us, because, you know, we have a couple things that could probably take those pretty okay. So this thing does give me another Stealth Rocker, so now the burden doesn't have to fall on Skarmory or Turokhan every week. We now have this guy, the Seismitoad, which has some really cool abilities: Poison Touch, Swift Swim, and Water Absorb. I feel like I never see anyone use Poison Touch Seismitoad, but pretty neat ability. Base 105 HP makes it really, really bulky. Its defensive stats aren't really the best, but if the base 105 HP makes it like bulky enough to live hits and get its rocks up. But I really just like it for like the supporting moves that it gets. Like it brings us a knockoff user or something with Scald and that type of thing. I also like that it has Swift Swim. I feel like Swift Swim is like just incredible, because you can then run Swift Swim, and then you're faster than everything, and then in the rain you get Stab boosted like Surfs, or I don't know if this thing gets Hydro Pump, but this thing can get like Surf, so you can get Surf in the rain, and then you can run it with like Life Orb and just be offensive, and I think this thing gets like Sludge Wave, so this thing has like some really, really cool coverage, and the access to be either defensive or offensive, and I think that's great, having a Pokemon that can fill 2 different types of roles. It's not like Skarmory where it's like, okay, this is gonna play the defensive role every single week. This thing could kind of fit both of those roles, and I kind of like that in Seismitoad. You know, I know we already have a water type, but this kind of is a better water type in my sense. It's a bulky water. I don't like having Gyarados as just like my only water type. I think this is probably the way to go. So we're gonna move on to Decidueye, which is my grass type in my Firewater Grass core, and I love Decidueye. Decidueye is so cool. It's not only my favorite Pokemon from the new generation, from Alola. This thing is just also like incredibly versatile. It gives me another Defogger, a Ghost type, so so I guess that's cool. So I guess people can't normal spam on me with like Return. Not that they could before, considering I had Turokhan and Skarmory, but it's cool to have an immunity. But I like the fact that it has like the option of setting up both physically and specially, so we can go Swords Dance, we can go Nasty Plot. It has access to priority in Shadow Sneak or Sucker Punch. It has access to U-Turn. It has an access with its signature Z move. If you want to make it a Z move user, it could also be what's the word? A Trapper. Did I say Trapper? It could be a Trapper with its arrow move. I don't remember what the name of the move is. What is the name of that move? I'm going to scroll down so you guys aren't going to see this, but Spirit Shackle. That's the name of the move. So it has Spirit Shackle, and this thing can run like Tailwind, Life Orb, and just be faster than everything. And with base 107 attack coupled with Life Orb, this thing can hit really, really hard. So I like that a lot. I guess we're just gonna move on to another Pokemon. I feel like this thing is like it's good. It doesn't really, I don't know. It's good. I like it. Ooh, buddy, we got Tornadus. Tornadus is another really cool mod. Not only does this thing have Prankster, so this thing can also just hit like a truck on both sides, like Defiant. So if we get intimidated, it is amazing. This thing can spam Hurricanes. We've actually made this Pokemon and Turokhan our Z-move users. So the Supersonic Sky Strike is just crazy coming off of this thing. It's stab. I like that it's just a pure flying type. It's not like any other flying type that shares another typing. So the pure flying type is really, really cool. My favorite way to use Tornadus, and I feel like I probably shouldn't say this in my draft analysis, is the way that I saw Tornadus being ran on another team. And that was it was on a team that revolved around Tailwind support, and I think Tailwind support on my team is actually going to be insane. Can you imagine going for Tailwind? And we're gonna hold the item Lagging Tail. So if you guys don't know what Lagging Tail, it says that you always move last. So we go for Tailwind, and then we go for U-turn. Your U-turn will go last, so we get a slow U-turn. We go out into Turokhan. Now Turokhan has +2 speed from the Tailwind, and then we just go and crush something with a Z move. This thing just absolutely just destroy anything. So I love the fact that Tornadus just has the ability to be supportive. It has the ability to set Tailwind up. It has a base 111 speed, so it outspeeds like the base 110 speeds speed tier. So I think this thing is cool. I wish this thing was a little bit bulkier, but it does have access to bulk up. But you know, I think the versatility, being able to go for like sub bulk up or Tailwind, Z move, or U-turn into something else that's like more of a threat, I think Tornadus is just such a cool Pokemon. This is one of the Pokemon that I have used before, so it's actually the last 3 Pokemon on my team. Decadua, Tornadus, in my last Pokemon, which is the Galvantula. These are the 3 Pokemon that I've used in Draft League format before, and I gotta say, not a huge fan of Galvantula, but I love Tornadus and I love Decadua. I've used them before in the past, and they've been pretty useful for me, and I've definitely have had a couple victories because of them on my team. So really excited to bring them back for sure. Now, on my team, I did not have an electric type yet, so I wanted to make sure that I got a fast electric type. And I think Galvantula is just amazing in that regard, because we have not only like the access to like 100% accurate thunders from this thing, just being as fast as it is. It also has sticky webs, and I feel like everyone knows what sticky webs do. It's probably what everyone thought first. That's probably what everyone thought I was gonna say, but for whatever reason that was just slipping my mind. So I just like that this thing can just run sticky webs. This thing can hit super hard with the life orb, and the one thing that I don't like about this Pokemon is that it doesn't have access to U-turn. I like that it has Volt Switch, so we can kind of get momentum in that sense, but I wish that Game Freak would just give this thing U-turn. It's a bug. There's so many things that can U-turn out. Why can't this thing just like let this thing just shoot a web from its butt and U-turn? Like that's all it needs to do, you know? I don't get it. So anyway, I feel like this kind of like, I feel like you guys can kind of get the summary of my team. Like, we have a pretty good Firewater Grass core with Gyarados, Arcanine, and Decadua. We also have our Fairy Dragon Steel core with Naganadel, Skarmory, and Sylveon. We have really hard hitters with Turokhan, Tornadus being our Z-move users. We also have Sticky Web support, and of course our Tier 1 Mewtwo just being able to kind of destroy lives in multiple different ways. And I'm just super excited to use this team. So if you guys enjoyed this thing, make sure you guys let me know by hitting that like button, leave a comment down below, and enjoy the rest of the season, guys. I'm glad that you guys are watching this type of thing. So thank you so much. I will see you in the battle. All right, bye.